Tampa Bay Buccaneers from the 48-yard line. Second down, 13. Brady lobs one downfield. Caught ball by Gronkowski inside the 20 to the 15-10. Gronkowski to the 5 to the 4-yard line. Holy guacamole.
Third down, 18. Dropping Gannon, looking Gannon. Throws up the middle. It's intercepted at the 40. Derek Brooks 30. Brooks to the 25, 20. Derek Brooks all the way. There it is. The dagger's in. We're going to win the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl, baby!
This is the Big Nasty. Yeah, Big Nasty, Hall of Fame Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, baby.
This is Mike Allstott, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you're listening to the Cannon Fire Podcast.
Cannon Fire Podcast, brother. You ain't listening, and you're missing out. Woo!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Back at you today for episode 148. And that'll do it for the Buccaneers on primetime. This year, they finished 1-3 over 4 primetime games. Thank God the Raiders game was flexed back. I don't know how that one would have turned out if kickoff was after 7 p.m. But last night's Monday Night Football game against LA, the results looked like this. The Rams are now 7-3. They finished with a score of 27. The Buccaneers, final score, 24. And they move their record to 7-4 on the year. You know, before we really break this game down, I just need to say it. I guess the silver lining is that the Buccaneers were very much in this game against one of the best defensive units the NFL has to offer. We're not going to come in here on this show like I've seen a lot of social media and say that, let's blow it up. Let's start again. Let's just start over. Bruce Arians needs to go. Like, I don't know where that narrative is coming from. I know the expectations with Tom Brady and the expectations with the hype around this team were really, really high, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I wasn't one of those people with high expectations, but the fact of the matter is they're still positive by 3 games. They are 7-4. Thanksgiving is this week. And, I don't know, man, but a disappointing loss nonetheless. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, as always, Rhett Matthew, joined alongside me, my good buddy and co-host, the Philly Bucs fan himself, Mr. Evan Wanish. How are you doing, my friend?
It's gonna be a long week. Not really for me per se, but just to see everybody completely melt down. That's what's gonna make it a long week. And like you said, Thanksgiving week. Let's just be thankful. That's all I got.
Yeah, well, the Buccaneers have Kansas City next Sunday at home, and they're going up against Patrick Mahomes, who I'm sure you saw the news. He plans on smothering his Thanksgiving turkey in ketchup. God. What a freaking nature, dude. Like,
I don't understand it. I like, he puts ketchup on his steak, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like,
yeah.
Man, I don't know. I love Patrick Mahomes, but jeez, man.
What a weirdo. And it's a shame because that weirdo is probably about to put 500 yards up on this defense. But let's just talk about the reason that we are here. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Monday Night Football defeated by LA in a very close game. And before we get into the game breakdown itself, I just wanted to give a really big shout out to my man Jared. He is on Twitter at RideOrDieTB. He got me into the game last night. A couple of days ago, I was at work, and I'll just be blunt, I was having a shitty day, right? And I get a text message. Says, hey, man, do you have any plans for the Bucs game tomorrow? Are you free? I've got 3 extra tickets, haven't asked anybody else, and I'm looking for people to go to the game. So, he listens to the Bucs Break every week. He's a really big Bone listener, and so he reached out to me on Twitter, hooked me up with some tickets for the game, and I am incredibly grateful because, I didn't think I was going to be able to see any games in person this year. So, once again, big shout out to my man Jared. Really appreciate you, man. And, win, lose, or draw, I really did have the time of my life being in Raymond James Stadium last night. So thank you again, my man. I really did have a great time. I want to remind everybody really quickly, though, that this podcast is brought to you by our friends over at betonline.ag. Game spreads and totals, the team, player, and coaching props. BetOnline gives you more options to wager than any other place online. And of course, they've always got their online casino platform as well, which never, ever closes. So if you're looking to make some money at 3 in the morning when everybody else is shutting down, you can head over to BetOnline. So make sure you get to betonline.ag today. Take advantage of all the great sign-up bonuses that they have got going on. Once again, BetOnline, your online sportsbook expert. Get out there and make some damn money. We got some stat lines from Monday night. Tom Brady, Let's just kick it off with TB12. 26 for 48, 216 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then 2 interceptions. Could have been 3 had Mike Evans not played all-pro cornerback for 1 rep. But just a bad night for Tom. Evan, what do you make of Tom's night, and what do you make of this offense as a whole?
I mean, I think, just like you said, it was a bad night at the office. It seemed like he just wasn't really reading the defense as well. The Rams were really disguising a lot of things and just wasn't able to read the coverages right, and just went deep a few more times than he should have. The 2 interceptions were on passes that were 15 plus yards, and the 1 near interception was on a deep ball as well. So just like you said, not a good night. But I think people are still just jumping ship on this guy way too early. And he's been like a top 10 quarterback in the league this year, and he had a bad game. It happens. He'll rebound from it,
Yeah.
Kansas City's defense is not that great. Hopefully he's able to rebound there. But yeah, I mean, the Rams, they're one of the best defenses in the NFL for a reason. It's not like this is some slouch defense and the Bucs just underperformed. I mean, I saw a lot of people that weren't even thinking the Bucs were going to score 24 points. And in the first half, the offense was really clicking. And in the second half, the Rams are one of those best teams at halftime making adjustments. I mean, that's the reason Sean McVay is now 32-0 when leading at halftime. He's never lost a game when the Rams have never lost a game under Sean McVay when they lead at halftime. I mean, even that's incredible.
Yeah.
So I mean, I had tweeted when the Rams got that field goal to end the half. I was like, oh well, game's over, and people of course took it way too seriously. I wasn't serious, but it ended up being a 3-point game anyway, so those points were pretty big. But yeah, just this offense it seemed like they were clicking and then they weren't. And once they stopped, they just couldn't get anything going. The defense gave them opportunity after opportunity in the second half, and they just weren't able to get it done. So definitely a disappointing night, but the sun came out today. There's still, time goes on, life goes on, and there's another football game to be played, another opportunity to right the ship. So I think it's not all doom and gloom as people say, but it was a very sluggish night.
Absolutely. And, one of the stats I had seen floating around actually regarding Brady and the deep ball last night, I think he was like 1 for 18 or 1 for 17 on passes over 15 yards. So, what we saw from this offense last night, slow start. I'd say they woke up around the second quarter, but the short passing game was working incredibly well against LA. I mean, like I said, they woke up in the second.
The quick passing game as well.
Exactly.
They running those screens, the curls, and they just abandoned it.
Exactly. When they moved away from it, that's when Tom struggled. He and it happens. Quarterbacks play bad games. We've talked about it here on the show plenty of times before. But the glaring issue with this was the deep ball, was the attempt to, I don't know about force the ball downfield, but sometimes it felt a little bit unnecessary when they took a shot. Tom Brady threw the ball damn near 50 times, which in a game that close, I mean, it wasn't like the run game really got going. I think they ran a total of 17 or 18 times between Fournette and Rojo, but you still don't like to see Tom Brady drop back 48 times. But Brady just wasn't hitting anything deep. Like that's what it was. They had AB open a few times. He beat his man, would have been a touchdown. Tom overthrew him. You had Mike Evans deep a couple of times. Tom overthrew him. And, it's a combination of play calling. They got away from what worked, but Tom certainly didn't help. And that interception at the end to seal the deal was the major disappointment to make this a loss on the record. There's a couple other things I want to talk about really quickly. Let's highlight some more silver linings from that offense. Antonio Brown had one of his bigger days as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. Leading receiver on the team, 8 receptions for 57 yards and some pretty damn impressive catches at that. And then Chris Godwin as well, he was right up there with him, 7 receptions and 53 yards. And I believe Mike Evans also had a pretty productive day as well when you look at it in terms of, how those other guys did too. But yeah, man, I wanted to ask a little bit about this play calling because it seems like at this point in the season, we did see the offense have a little bit of success between the second and third quarter last night, but Are they just too predictable at this point? Like, when does Byron Leftwich need to kind of hand over the play calling duties?
So that's something that I don't think is going to happen. I really don't. Bruce Arians has made it clear that he believes in Leftwich and he doesn't really want to call plays. So I just think you got to hope that he just comes up with some better game plans. It's weird because I liked their game plan in Carolina, and there were parts of their game plan last night that I liked. But it's just like you said, it gets so stale so quickly.
Yeah.
And when a defense figures it out, they are just so slow to adjust to anything, and it costs them. I mean, it really, really does. I wanted to point out one more thing on the Antonio Brown stuff before I forget it. So there was a deep ball where Brady threw it. Brown was open, and it hit Brown on the
fingertips, man.
He probably should have caught that ball. That's probably needs to be a catch. It wasn't the best thrown ball, but it was a decent enough thrown ball, so that probably needs to be a catch. But I mean, you're right. Brady just missed guys down the field. But why are you throwing it down the field so much?
Exactly.
Just like when you said, it sounds so weird to me to say, throw it short, the short pass game. That sounds so weird to me, but that's like what it was. They were doing a lot of quick screens. They were gaining, not big yards, but 4, 5, 6 yards. And then they were doing quick curls on third down. Their third down offense in the first half was very good. They were converting on a lot of them and extended drives, and that's why they took the 14-7 lead. But I mean, then they just went away from it completely, and it seemed like, I don't know. There was a minute 45, and you had a timeout, and you're running Cameron Brate, who's not the better vertical threat. Rob Gronkowski is the better vertical threat. You're running him on a seam route when you're at midfield, and you only need a field goal to tie the game. I don't understand that at all, really. But the offense, like I said, it's just that's the main thing for me is that they're just they fail to adjust when they need to, and they came out, like you said, a little slow, but then they started to pick up a little bit. So Dan Orlovsky had actually tweeted out something this morning, and he said it's 2020. The Buccaneers ran 67 plays on offense last night. They motioned on 6 of them. This is coaching malpractice. Now, before I get into that, somebody did point out to me, and they took a screenshot, and they pointed out to me, because I said, man, this is what concerns me the most, is that I think the change that this offense needs the most is the thing that's least likely to happen, and that's something with the coaching staff. Whether it's Bruce Arians taking over play calls, Byron Leftwich getting fired, and you just get a new offensive coordinator in there, I think that's what needs to happen, and it's the least likely to happen. But
so you think Byron should be fired at this point?
I think he.
I mean, make a case for it.
You can make a case. I'm not going to say he should, but I think you can start to make the case that maybe they should move on, or he should have to give up play calling duties. But maybe even a guy like Harold Goodwin could do it. I mean, he's the assistant head coach. I'd like to see him get a crack at it. Offensive line coach, assistant head coach. So a follower of mine, when I tweeted that, I quote tweeted the Orlovsky tweet. He sent a screenshot, and it was another analyst that quote tweeted Orlovsky and said, "I have no idea where you got 6 plays. It's closer to half of them." And he said, "I'm halfway through the second drive, and they've already run motion 5 times." And the one dude said, "ESPN only lists motion as plays that are run while the man is still moving." So that's sort of a little different there.
And I mean, that's, when you talk about, I guess the terms could be misconstrued depending on how whoever interprets it, but like that's a staple of Brady's game is pre-snap motion, figure out the defense if they're in man or zone, and then pick them apart. Like motion is what Brady does a lot more than most quarterbacks in the league. So yeah, I can see how that was a little bit, skewed right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, it's just weird, It's so the motion stats were a little bit skewed. right? I'll give the credit there that they didn't actually run motion only 6 times.
Yeah.
Like I'll say that. But I just the creativity's not there. They were designing so many plays for running backs that can't catch the football. I mean, I understand some of it's on Brady because Brady likes to throw to backs, and some of it is not designed to go to running backs, and he still throws it there. So some of it's on him. But I mean, they ran a few screens last night that are it's non-existent. And you know what else is non-existent to me, and this is a big concern: the first down offense.
Yeah.
They're a non-factor on first down, okay? They're either gaining 1 or 2 yards. They ain't gaining no more than that.
Unless it's play action, and then maybe you get your shot, and then everybody's encouraged. But, I mean, how often do we see this team actually mix it up and call some play action or even a damn pass play out of the shotgun on first down?
Even when they're passing the ball on first down, it doesn't result in success. I don't know what it is, but this team, you might as well start 2nd and 10 because it just doesn't work for them on first down. I don't know what it is. It really has been an issue, I think, all season. And the Rams just do such a good job. They were consistently gaining not chunk plays on first down, but 4 or 5 yards on first down. That's what you need. Sets up a 2nd and short, and then he set up a 3rd and short maybe. Who knows? But I don't know if they were ever in like a 2nd and 2, 2nd and 1. I don't know if they were. I know there was a few first downs where they, on first down where they converted another one. That only happened like 2 or 3 times. But I mean, they just never really gotten 2nd and short, and it's very, I don't know, it's very strange to me, and just I don't know, I don't know where the answer is. I think their offense, I think, will be good. Like, I mean, they're still a good offense. There's still a 7-4 football team at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I might go, I'll talk about it a little bit later, but it's not time to push the panic button, but it's definitely not encouraging some of the things you're seeing from this offense, because really, like, this team needs to be powered by its offense. That's what they're built for. And right now, they just didn't hold up their end of the bargain last night. It was really the tale of 2 halves. I thought the offense was good in the first half and bad in the second half. So credit to the Rams. They played a really good game, and the Bucs they need to be better. That's all.
Yeah. You'd mentioned the running backs, and they were actually the next thing I wanted to talk about. It seemed like the Bucs got the BOGO deal on running backs who can't catch,
Well, the one that can catch is sitting on the sideline, so I don't even know why you're taking
that's what I wanted to bring up. There's 2 guys. LaShawn McCoy hasn't had a target since October 18th. And then Keyshawn Vaughn, I can't believe he doesn't seem like a decent option, especially after burning a 3rd-round pick on him. I don't know why he's on the bench every single week, but like, what's the move there? Like, what are we not seeing from Keyshawn Vaughn to where he's not on the field? Is it Brady trust issues? Like, is it because it really didn't seem like we saw enough of him to garner a negative reputation? You know what I mean?
I don't know what he did. I don't know if he took somebody's parking spot or what. I don't know, because this dude can't get on the field, and it's a wasted 3rd-round pick. It really is. Would have been nice to get maybe another pass rusher with that pick, or another offensive lineman, or a back that can actually make a difference. Zach Moss was picked a few picks after that, and they should have picked him, and he's making a difference in Buffalo right now. So I don't know. But even like Keyshawn Vaughn, but LaShawn McCoy is there. Like, he's sitting on the sideline.
He's dressed every week.
Like, you can't tell me he's not a better option than Leonard Fournette or Ronald Jones when it comes to passing. LaShawn McCoy cannot run the football anymore. Like, that's just that's really passed him by. But it's I don't know. It's very it's weird, because McCoy, like you said, hasn't had a target since October 18th. It's not good. And he's the best pass catching back on the roster right now. And that's not saying a whole lot, because he's decent. Okay. They don't have a pass catching running back. And they haven't. Go ahead.
LaShawn McCoy is absolutely not what he used to be. Like you said, he is the best option they have at a pass catching running back. And that's how he made his money. Like in Kansas City, that's what he was. He's a pass catching running back that you can, kind of throw to him, lead him a little bit, and then he's going to make a couple of guys miss. Not nearly as much as he used to, but, just kind of like what you and I are reiterating back and forth. I refuse to believe...
Can you take it for a minute?
What's up?
Can you take it for a minute? I gotta go do something real fast.
Oh, okay.
I'll be right back, CFP listeners.
All right. So Evan's gonna go do something. Oh, he's actually gonna go do something. Okay. But what I was saying was like, I just refuse to believe that there isn't a better option there. And when we talked about Keyshawn Vaughn, me personally, I just don't believe that we saw enough of him for me to make a decision to say that he's not the running back that they want on this team. Like it really up to this point does feel like a wasted third round pick, but I'd like to see a little bit more of the kid before I go out on a limb and say that he's a wasted third round pick. It really does seem unnecessary, and I just really hope that this offensive identity can level itself out before the end of the year. But I guess we'll just have to really wait and see what happens. We talked enough about the offense. Let's talk about this defense in the game that they had on Monday night. Simply put, the defense couldn't stop the short game from LA. They were getting torn up on screen passes, crossing routes, underneath, everything that we've seen before. But here's the thing, is, we're upset with this defense and the way that they played, but the fact of the matter is they showed up when they needed to. Yeah, maybe they gave up over 350 yards of offense, but 3 turnovers, more than enough chances to set this offense up for points. I know that there was 1 turnover.
Did they have 3?
Yeah, they did.
Did they?
They had the Jason Pierre-Paul interception. They had the Jordan Whitehead interception. And they had the, what was the last one? It wasn't a pick.
I don't think they had 3.
Let me hit up the Google machine right here and see if they had 3. I'm pretty sure they had 3 turnovers.
There was a Jared Goff fumble
that they came up with, right? No, Jared Goff got back.
And then that was the same drive of the pick.
I could have sworn they had 3 turnovers.
No, I don't think so. If they did, that's even worse then, because, like I said, one of my keys was the forced turnovers, and they didn't do that. They would force more turnovers. What did I say beforehand? I said that if the Bucs could force 2 or 3 turnovers, and the Bucs would play a clean game on themselves, that they would win this game. If they play a clean game without them 2 Tom Brady interceptions, they win this game. It's simple.
This is one of those games.
They did enough.
This is one of those games where, regardless of 2 or 3 turnovers, apparently it was only 2. But this is one of those games, being as tight as it was, the turnover game was going to win or lose you this contest. Like I heard you jumped on with our guys on Locked On Bucs to do a game preview with David Harrison. Great stuff, by the way. But it really just came down to whoever was going to win the turnover battle. There isn't a big margin of error in games like this. Mistakes are going to cost you, and that Brady interception, the first one, cost them, and they bounced back from it. They were still able to win the game with that last drive. The second one sealed the deal, but up until that point, they were winning the turnover battle and potentially could have won the game. But this defense, again, going back to what I had said, they couldn't stop the short game, but another thing as well, there was no pressure. No pressure at all. 0 sacks, yet again, and it felt like whenever Goff had more than 3 seconds in the pocket, it was just a huge gain down the middle of the field to somebody who was wide-ass open, which is the story of the year. It's something we've seen time and time and time and time again, and it's getting pretty goddamn frustrating. Evan, what did you make of this defense?
You're right. They kept them in it. A tremendous effort in the second half.
Yeah.
The first half, like I said, it's a tale of 2 halves. The first half, I really liked what the offense did. They were good on third down, and the defense was disappointing. Second half, it's the opposite. The offense can't seem to get anything going, and the defense has to spark them. The defense gave up a touchdown in the second half, but that was after the Tom Brady interception. So that was the Tom Brady interception. That was the first one that they gave up the touchdown on, and then obviously, it was their job to keep them from not getting in field goal position to score, obviously, yes. But and then, the Bucs defense gets an interception themselves. Bucs offense does nothing with it, pretty much. But they score points. They get 3. Only had the ball for 51 seconds. 4 plays, 2 yards. Nice. But anyways, and then they get another interception, and that leads to the touchdown. So yeah, they were almost single-handedly, keeping them in this game. And it's even more extraordinary because, like you said, there was zero pressure. When they blitzed, I mean, credit to Sean McVay because the Bucs were blitzing a decent amount, and they were doing a lot of cover zero, like we said.
Yeah.
When we were talking with Ryan on Thursday, we were like, they don't really run a lot of cover zero. Credit to Sean McVay because the Bucs did a little bit and the Rams adjusted to it. The Rams obviously were not going to get beat the same way that they were beat by the Dolphins. They obviously looked at the film and said, okay, we're going to do, if somebody does this to us, we're doing this. So it's a tremendous coaching job, and the Bucs just got outcoached in this one on both sides of the ball. Your scheme is dedicated on playing man coverage. You draft man-to-man corners, physical corners, big corners, and you play zone. I do not understand why this defense continues to just throw away halves, essentially, because in the first half you played mostly zone, the second half you played mostly man. What is the plan? I don't understand why you want to spot a team 17 points in the first half and say, all right, we'll get them in the second half. What are you doing? It's getting to the point where I think Todd Bowles is definitely going to be here next year because he's not going to receive any head coaching offers. I think he is a good defensive coordinator. Okay, I'm not saying he's not. I'm just questioning why the things that got you to a 7-3 record. Why are you going away from them now?
Right.
In the Saints game, why did you play zone? Why? What is the purpose of playing zone when you have man-to-man corners? Now, I mean, Sean Murphy-Bunting has had a rough year. He had a good rookie year. He's having a rough year. Sophomore slump. Jamel Dean went out with an injury, concussion. That hurt, not having him. But Carlton Davis is a man-to-man corner, and you're playing him in zone. That's not going to work. It's not. The Bucs linebackers, what's their weakness? Coverage. Devin White's not good in coverage. Having him in zone coverage is not going to work. I don't understand the defensive game plan. Yeah, they played much better in the second half, but I mean, like I said, they spotted that team 17 points. The Rams were able to get it down. They had a minute left or whatever with one timeout, I think, or two timeouts and right before the half, and they were able to get 3 points out of it. Can't happen.
Yeah.
They got bailed out. Matt Gay missed a field goal, so that would have been even more points. It's just they played better in the second half, but that first half defense was just so pedestrian-like, and it was like they were just playing so scared. And the Rams weren't pushing the ball down the field because they didn't have to. I believe Jared Goff first took a deep shot in the second half in like the late third quarter, and it was overthrown. That was his first deep shot of the game, like over like 20 yards. And because they didn't really have to. It was a lot of crossers with Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is like the master of yak.
Yeah.
Because that dude just doesn't go down. I mean, it's impressive. But, I mean, they've been a pretty good tackling defense, and last night they weren't.
Yeah, that's another thing as well. I wanted to bring up that tackling. But one more thing. It seems like that is just the plight of this Bucs team this year, is getting away from what they know and what they do well. I don't know if it's an over sense of urgency to try to look like they're making adjustments that just don't work, but getting away from what they know and what they do well is what's costing them games this year. And it's weird because, like, it's kind of the new version of Bucs beating Bucs. You get away from what works.
They're doing it to themselves.
It really is kind of a weird process. But you brought up the tackling, and I wanted to bring up one instance in particular. Literally, what separated this game? 14-14. Couple minutes before halftime. Rams offense is on the field. They don't have a lot of time on the clock.
Yeah, a couple seconds before halftime. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yak all day. And what can it be accredited to? Wimpy tackling. Sets the Rams up in field goal position, puts them up 17-14 before the half, and they went from 31-0 while leading at halftime to 32-0. And like that was the difference. There were more than a couple of instances where we were screaming at the defense because nobody could make a goddamn tackle. And it just really was, out of character. And no, I don't think any of it has to do with the adjustments that were made by Bowles, but between wimpy tackling and getting away from what they know, I really think that's just everything that cost them this game last night.
Very frustrating. Yeah. Just, I don't know. I don't know. that Raiders game was the last time they really played man-to-man for a full game. That Raiders game was the last time that Tom Brady could hit a deep ball. I don't know what went off in the desert there, but something happened. I don't know.
We talked about this off of the podcast, and dare I bring it up here. Has to do with Tom Brady, and it might be concerning to a lot of people, but it's been said that this is the time of year that he slows down. Do you think that's just kind of what we're seeing at this point?
Well, I remember, we were talking with James a few weeks ago, and I said that's what concerned me, is that this is the time of year last year. Typically, Brady owns November and December. In his career, he's just been so good. But last year, he started off hot, and I know the Patriots didn't have weapons. I understand that. But last year, he started off hot, and then around week 8, week 9, he started to falter a little bit. But we were talking, that was after the week 9 game. So I said that, and then he goes out and has 4 total touchdowns or whatever versus Carolina. So the one silver lining of Tom Brady is that he is now in the leader and for pass touchdowns of all time. So
he's gonna have Drew Brees by quite a few.
Yeah, he's gonna have probably so I don't think Brees is gonna get that. I think Brady's gonna hold on to that now. So that's the one silver lining, I guess.
Yay!
But the one thing one thing I did want to point out was a great job by AQ Shipley and Ryan Jensen last night. Kudos to them. They get my game ball because Aaron Donald, where was he? Was he a player? Did he play for the Rams last night?
Yeah.
I don't know, because I think he got one pressure on Brady, and that was it. No sacks, no tackles, nothing. It's just a lot of self-inflicted stuff, man. I think that's what makes it more frustrating, is that the Saints just kicked their butts, right?
Yeah.
The Saints played better than them and kicked their butts. Yes, it was self-inflicted a little bit, especially on the defensive side of the ball, but the Saints just beat them up. This one, it's so close, such a close game that you look at it and you say, oh, if you play this, more zone, less zone, whatever, why are you sending on the deep shots? You're doing it to yourself. Mm-hmm. Like, this staff is killing this football team right now. And yes, the Bucs need a pass catching running back. They do. It's not all on the staff. They needed, there was a few reps. Alex Kappa didn't have the strongest game. He got beat a few times. I remember that one play I thought it was a fumble. I thought it was pretty clearly a fumble. But Alex Kappa just got blown by Morgan Fox, I think. So he got absolutely destroyed on that play. He didn't have a strong game. Tristan Wirfs, another great game. But, it's just a lot of self-inflicted wounds. And the kicking game was good. They didn't beat themselves there. It's just it always seems to be something, and now this staff just for some reason seems so scared to take risk, except on the offensive, where you have a guy that can't throw a deep ball right now, an offense that can't complete a deep pass, and you're a deep ball offense. Like, come on, like, I don't know. I don't know. You scored 14 points in the first half against the best defense, one of the best defenses in the NFL. Using quick passes, screens, quick outs, stuff like that, and then you just want to take deep shots on 3rd and 5 all the time. So in the second half, I don't know. And this game versus Kansas City, it's not going to tell me a whole lot. It's really not, because I don't know. It's just, to me, what's going to tell me more is that 4-game stretch after the bye week. That's what's going to tell me if this team is actually a playoff team or not. Kansas City, let's be honest, the Bucs will probably lose. I think Kansas City's 9-1. They lost to the Raiders, and then they almost lost to the Raiders again, but Mahomes is Mahomes, right? So I think they're the best team in the NFL. So I can't really judge it much. Even if the Bucs lose, they're 7-5. And I know that I said I was going to talk about this before, before we started the show. I said I wanted to get into this. So if the Bucs lose, they're 7-5. Then they have the bye week, which is a much needed time, I think, to sort of, all right, take a deep breath, reset. You got 4 games, right? 4 games to make the playoffs. You have to win probably 3 of them. Okay. they're all winnable games.
Yeah, no
The
doubt.
Vikings have struggled. The Lions have struggled. The Falcons, yeah, they're division rival, and they've been playing better football ever since Raheem Morris took over. I'll give them credit there. But they're still not a great pass defense. And Matt Ryan, you don't know what you're going to get on a week-to-week basis. So, you play them twice. Even if you split with them and just beat Minnesota and Detroit, you're 10-6 and you're in the playoffs. Don't implode. That's the storyline. Don't implode and you make the playoffs. Beat the teams you're supposed to beat and you make the playoffs. Are you supposed to beat the Chiefs? Probably not. The Chiefs are the better team. Right? I think the Chiefs are the better team on paper. I think they're the better team, and they'll probably prove it. But then those 4 games, you're better than the Vikings, you're better than the Lions, and you're better than the Falcons. Beat them. If you beat them, it doesn't matter. And here's the thing: a lot of people are saying, "Oh, well, the Bucs are done because they're gonna miss the playoffs and all that stuff." I'm not worried about them missing the playoffs. The 2 teams behind them are the Bears and the Vikings. They're right behind them. I don't see either one of those teams going on a stretch like this that can catch up to Tampa. I know that the Bears are in the tiebreaker, so that's the one you got to really keep an eye on. But the Bears play the Packers 2 more times. The Bears haven't played the Packers at all. So let's assume that's 2 losses there. They're 5-5 now. The Bucs are 7-4. So the Bears, they're in a tough spot. The Vikings are 4-6. So the Bucs are 3 games up on them. I mean, it would have to be a pure implosion for me to think that this Bucs team won't make the playoffs. So let's look at the Bears' schedule here. So the Bears play the Packers, then they play the Lions, then the Texans, then the Vikings, Jaguars, and then the Packers again. So that's a bunch of divisional games where it's going to be tight, right? The Texans, who knows where you get with the Texans on a week-to-week basis. And the Jaguars, that's probably a win for the Bears. I just don't see the Bears finishing. The best I think they finish is like 8-8. Yeah. So I don't see the Bucs finishing 8-8. I don't think they're going to go 1-4 down the stretch. I really don't. So I like their chances there. As far as the Vikings go, the Vikings are 4-6. Obviously they play the Bucs, so that'll be a big game. But then they play the Panthers. Panthers have been looking decent. Jaguars probably a win, but the Vikings also still play the Saints in New Orleans. So I mean it's tricky because I know a lot of people want to be negative and say, "Oh man, this team's in a tough spot," but I think they're still in a very good spot to make the playoffs. They're still likely going to make the playoffs, and though I mean the 5 seed's pretty much out. Yeah. Unfortunately now, so you're not going to be able to play an NFC East team. You won't have that luxury. You're just not, even though you go on the road, you're not going to be able to play Philly or the Giants or Cowboys, whoever comes out of that awful division. But because the Seahawks, I tweeted this, the Seahawks schedule, this is going to be the end of my thing, kind of. The Seahawks schedule is cake. And they're just going to hang on to the 5 seed or win the NFC West, in which case if they win the NFC West, the Rams, as long as they don't implode, would hold the 5 seed as they've beaten the Bucs. So Seahawks at Philly versus the Giants versus the Jets at Washington versus the Rams at San Francisco. I mean, you got at least 4 wins there.
Gotta be.
They might just go 6-0 probably, because I don't know if they're going to get swept by the Rams. So that's a cakewalk there. The one I'm going to look at to end, I'm sorry, I forgot about this point. The 6th seed, it's going to be the Bucs or the Cardinals. Okay, let's just assume it's the Bucs or the Cardinals. The Bucs' remaining schedule is versus Kansas City, the bye, versus Minnesota, at Atlanta, at Detroit, versus Atlanta. The Bucs are 7-4 right now. The Cardinals are 6-4 right now. Their schedule at New England, versus the Rams, at the Giants, versus Philly, versus San Francisco, and at the Rams. So you play the Rams twice. You play the Patriots again, you don't know what you're going to get with them. I still think they're a tough team to beat. They're not a slouch. And then I think the 49ers are even not a slouch. So obviously you probably have 2 wins there with the Giants and Philly, but the Bucs could very well get the 6th seed. And I think it's either going to be 6 or 7, but I'm going to lean towards 6. I think the Bucs are going to end up with the 6th seed. End of rant. Sorry.
I appreciate you laying it all on the table out there. I'm sure there are plenty of people curious about that seeding position, but while we're talking about perspective, I just want to bring up one more thing, and it was a great point that you had made. You look at this Bucs team at Week 11 last year; they were 3-7. They are 7-4 right now. Sports teams, it's a process. Okay, look at the Saints. Look at where they are now. As much as I hate those guys and I hate talking about them, their process has worked. They have a combination of things that have worked year after year after year. Has it resulted in a big playoff run? No. But they're getting there. They're owning the division year after year because they have a process that is tried and true, and it works every single year. This is the first year of that quote-unquote process for Tampa Bay. We were talking all the way back in Week 2 with Trevor Sikkema, and he said, Super Bowl expectations are at an all-time high because not only do you bring in Tom Brady, this is before the Antonio Brown signing, but expectations were sky high. Trevor Sikkema, Evan, I know you said it as well, but were we excited?
This is why I love Trevor.
Were we excited this year? Absolutely. Was everybody clamoring for Super Bowl? Yes. I'm not saying that the possibility is not there, but the expectation for the Buccaneers to steamroll this season and for everything to go fluently, I think anybody with a 12-4 prediction or higher, I don't want to say they were fooling themselves, but it's a process, man, and this is the first year of that process, and to be 7-4 the week of Thanksgiving is uncharted territory for a lot of Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans. So for the first time in 13 years, we've been talking about playoff seeding a couple days before we eat our turkey. So no, it is not time to hit the panic button. It's a process. Trust the process.
Ooh.
Yeah, you like that one?
Love it.
You have a new process to trust because that last one you had was blown the hell up.
Hey, don't do that. Okay. I agree. So Trevor basically said that this year was about beating the teams you got to beat. And maybe you do beat a team that is actually better than you. Is Green Bay better than the Bucs? Maybe. But the Bucs beat them. Are the Raiders better than the Bucs? Probably not, but the Raiders are still in a playoff spot and the Bucs beat them. So I think Trevor hit the nail right on the head. You got to beat the teams that you're supposed to beat. Guess what? Like I said, you're probably not supposed to beat Kansas City, but you got 4 teams after that you're supposed to beat. Get into the playoffs. Everybody's saying, the expectations for Super Bowl. I get it, but you got to crawl before you can walk. Yeah. And this team hasn't made the playoffs in 13 years. Like, are Bucs fans seriously going to be angry if they make the playoffs? And let's say, obviously, if they get blown out in the playoff game, that sucks. But let's say they fight hard and lose by 6 in a playoff game, right? And get bounced in the first round. Are you going to be angry?
Even if we're 10-6 and make the wild card, there's going to be people wanting Jameis back.
You've clamored for this for 13 years. And you've got it now, and you're going to be. I don't get it. I do not get it. But he basically said that Trevor, you can go back and listen. The week 2 was it? It was the review show, I believe.
Yeah, it was the post game.
The week 2 review show. Go back and listen to what he said. He said what I agree with. Next year is the year. I think next year with a full off season, they know what they need to get. Right. I still think Jason Light's a good general manager. Whatever. Sorry, I know many don't. Whatever. I think they realize what they need to get a few more pieces, surround Brady, second year in Arians' offense. I think next year is the year where Tampa can make that big leap. And I think next year is the year where the expectation can be Super Bowl. I really do. It's going to be difficult maybe, with the cap crunch, with all this COVID stuff and, the revenues and stuff and the salary cap, but I think if they're able to make some moves, able to get a few guys. I tweeted out this morning. I said 3 things that I think the Bucs need to become an elite team. This is just personnel. I'm not saying fire Leftwich. This has nothing to do with coaches. I said a good left tackle. Donovan Smith is average. I don't think you're going to win a Super Bowl with him as your left tackle. An elite pass rusher, because we saw, just like you said, they need it. And a pass-catching running back. I mean, I think if you get those 3 things, I think they are a very, very good football team, and they're very tough to beat. And we'll see if they can this offseason. We will see. It's the elite pass rusher is going to be tough just because those guys just don't become available. But, we'll see. But, yeah, I agree that I understand that the expectations when you sign Tom Brady and trade for Rob Gronkowski and sign Antonio Brown and have this awesome draft, I understand the expectations are, oh, well, they're gonna go to the Super Bowl this year. Okay, let's chill out. This defense is extremely young. They're a bunch of kids, and nobody really has playoff experience like Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, Antonio Brown. Ryan Jensen's been to the playoffs a few times. Jason Pierre-Paul's been in the playoffs a few times. Shaq Barrett.
Jason Pierre-Paul got himself Super Bowl, did he not?
Yeah, I think Shaq Barrett does too, actually. So
yeah.
Ndamukong Suh has been to the playoffs, but other than that, like, not many people. The key players: Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. Vita Vea. Obviously, I know Vita Vea is not playing, but Vita Vea, Carlton Davis, the entire secondary, really. The Ali Marpet, Donovan Smith. These guys haven't been to the playoffs. They just haven't had that experience. So, like you said, I really like what you said. It's a process, and the Saints have mastered that process. Unfortunately, maybe the Bucs process is a little bit more short term, but it is still a process, and I think that next year is the year where you can look at it and really say Super Bowl or bust. But I understand the frustrations. I do, and I know that anybody listening to this show right now is probably saying, oh, stop, because when you get Tom Brady, we're sick of losing and stuff like that. I get it, right? But they're 7-4. When is the last time they were 7-4 on November 24th? Like, come on, guys. Are they going to be 7-5? I think so, but who cares? They're still in a great spot to make the playoffs. I know that the goal is a Super Bowl every year, but the expectation, I think, couldn't have been the Super Bowl this year. And that's pretty much going to do it. I think that they're a good team. They're not a great one yet.
I'm glad that we had that encouraging powwow. I'm glad we spent some time and, big breath of fresh air, ladies and gentlemen. There is one more thing I want to yell about when it comes to this game, and I wanted to get your 2 cents, more so on this coaching staff before we wrap things up on this week's game review. But last play of the game, Rams punted with 10 seconds on the clock. 2 things. Why is Kenyon Barner still out there? And another thing, why did nobody on the sideline tell him to just take the fair catch and maybe we get 1 or 2 plays out of it? I don't know what the process was there, but I look directly at this coaching staff because it didn't seem like they even tried to make an effort. You've got Antonio Brown on the sidelines. One of the, I don't want to say one of the most prolific returners, but a guy who has a history of being a pretty damn good punt returner. Standing on the sidelines on a play that, I don't know, dude, low percentage, sure, but good God, what are the chances Antonio Brown pops one over a guy like Kenyon Barner? And then to not take the fair catch, to attempt the return and get 3 yards, game over, like that was probably just the worst way they could have ended that game.
Kenyon Barner is a decent punt returner and a kick returner, but he's not Antonio Brown. And I don't understand why Brown wasn't out there. It is a 0.01% chance that he's going to return that thing to the house, but he has a better chance to do it than Kenyon Barner. And another thing that a lot of people took issue with, why are you even worrying about the return? Sell out to block that thing.
Yeah.
Why are you send everybody? Why are you worrying about a return? Just send everybody. And I looked at it and I was like, yeah, you're right. So I don't know. It's weird. But this coaching staff is the only thing that's consistent about them is that they're inconsistent. Some weeks they come up with great game plans. And other weeks they can't seem to get out of their own way. And that, I think, there's a few things on personnel that I think is definitely holding this team back, but I think the coaching staff is also holding this team back a little bit. And the scary part to me is that not much is going to change on this coaching staff, offensive coordinator-wise, defensive coordinator-wise, head coach-wise, not anything's they're not going to fire Byron Leftwich in the offseason. They're not going to, unless Byron Leftwich gets a head coaching job, they're not going to fire Todd Bowles. They're not going to fire Bruce Arians. And I'm not calling for them to be fired. I'm just saying that I think there needs to be some changes, but I just don't know if they're going to make those changes, and I think it's very unlikely. So,
could you imagine what a guy like Todd Monken could do with this offense?
It'd be fun. I mean,
man.
yeah, it'd be pretty cool. Todd, if you're listening to this, Travis' son, I know him personally, but if you're listening to this still, I don't know why, but need you back. I know Dirk Cutter screwed you over, but need you back. So if you're listening, if you're out there, just come on back. Be an offensive assistant, and just Byron Leftwich can still have the offensive coordinator title. Just let Monken call the plays.
Have him holding the clipboard on the sidelines. But
whatever.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's just about going to do it for this episode of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening with any of our podcast outlets or checking us out with video over on YouTube. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. It is the best way to take in the show. We got beautiful video, a bunch of awesome heads-up display stuff, a bunch of sponsors flashing at you. It really is a great deal. Go check it out. There's a lot of great content over there as well that we do more than just the show. You can follow the show on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those are Cannon Fire Podcast. Best place to go for updates on the show. And, of course, Buccaneer news as it happens. Speaking of Bucs news as it happens, check out my co-host Evan on Instagram at Bucs_daily. You can also find him on Twitter at EvanNFL. Last but not least, you can find myself on social media, Instagram and Twitter. Both of those are Rhetticus, RHETTAKUS. And if you follow me, I will follow you back. We will talk to you guys on Thursday for our game preview show as we break down anything and everything you need to know about this Sunday's matchup with Kansas City. But until then, I'm your host, Rhett Matthew, signing off from my co-host, Evan Wanish. We'll talk to you next time. Go Bucs.